When we talk about beef production, we tend to picture this, but is everything so beeful? To find out, I visited the organic farm near Oslo.
What do you think, which is more evil, non-organic bread or organic grass-fed cow beef?
I guess if you calculate it just by using the calculator that they use now, that, you know, only the emissions, the cow would look really bad.
Fortunately, thanks to the internet, everything can be measured. Let's base our experiment on two main environmental metrics: carbon footprint and water footprint. Estimates suggest that the carbon footprint of non-organic loaf of bread is around 0.5 kg CO2 emissions equivalent per loaf, while an organic grass-fed steak is around 13.5 kg CO2 equivalent. That's it. End of video, right? Well, not quite. Things are not that simple. Let's get back and find out how Rebecca's farm is different.
Most of the grazing area is in the forest.
Whoa, so let's stop in here. So it means that apparently Rebecca uses low footprint practices. So there is forest included in the landscape. Trees can sequester significant amount of carbon emissions, reducing the overall carbon footprint. They also provide some additional shelter and benefits for the animals, which can lead to better meat quality in general.
So the cows live in the forest?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the truck will get them in a week or so, and then they just go off here, and then we take them back when the summer is over. Well, I check on them often. We work a lot with biodiversity to make sure that not only what we produce is having a good time, but everything that lives on the farm and around the farm, that's also thriving.
As Rebecca said in an interview, manure from her livestock is used as a natural fertilizer for crops. She's using the crops as feed for the livestock. This reduces the need for external inputs and creates a more sustainable and efficient farming system. It also helps to sequester carbon in the soil and reduces the overall carbon footprint of meat production. Both lowest footprint practices make the overall impact of producing this grass-fed steak significantly less than the conventional one. Therefore, if we'll correct the superficial information given previously, according to some studies, organic grass-fed beef 500 grams produced using lowest footprint practices can be as low as 1 kg CO equivalent per kg of beef, or even lower. However, it is important to remember that there are many factors to consider in wheat production, in particular the production of pesticides and chemical fertilizers.
Yeah, there are three organic farms in this whole area.
Okay.
So all the others, they use mostly chemicals to produce the grain.
How many farms are in the area?
I don't know, lots. Yeah, hundreds. There's a lot of chemical use, because that's how they are taught to produce food. We see a lot of problems in the whole landscape area here. There's a lot of runoff, a lot of erosion, a lot of issues with soil fertility. There's one milking farm left in this area. It's
Over there?
Yeah, where you were yesterday. Yeah, and they are also organic. But most farms quit with cows. If you don't have animal manure, then the chemical fertilizer is the only option.
Is it possible to visit the cows now or no?
Yeah, we could do that. When the cows jump on each other, when there's no bull.
Yeah, they're kind of taking the role of the bull.
Yeah, with no results.
Are they having good names?
Yeah, her name is Stinky.
What?
Stinky. It's you know, from the Valley.
Moving on to water footprint. Estimates suggest that the wheat production uses around 500 to 1,800 liters of water for 500 grams of loaf, while organic grass-fed steak uses around 7,500 liters. But is that the full story? Because contaminated water is also a concern.
And then you would have huge problems. There's no fish in the river anymore because it's polluted. When I was young, you could go fishing and eat the fish. Like most of the birds that used to be part of this landscape has also disappeared.
We should consider the chemical contamination of the non-organic practices. So these chemicals usually end up in the nearest source of the water. Pesticides and chemical fertilizers used in non-organic wheat production can contaminate water, requiring more water or other chemicals to dilute these contaminants to acceptable levels. It means a more water consumption, right? But no one considers it in the calculations. And remember, these contaminants can harm ecosystems, wildlife, and human health. Dilution is not a solution. Well, there is a lot of confusion around the topic, and not eating meat just because of the environmental awareness is part of the confusion. And meanwhile, the entire industry of ecological practices is suffering and disappearing.
They're the last milking cow production here.
Yeah.
And they're gonna quit soon too. The government would rather buy the food from other countries, I think. They don't like food production, is my impression. Half the farms have shut down the last 20 years or something. And they still want to shut down most farms and just have few huge productions that do really economically efficient. So if you want to run a farm, it should be like voluntarily without salary.
So it's like a hobby kind of thing, right?
And it won't start, and it's just, but it's perfect for the little job in the garden.
On the other hand, I can totally understand the moral side of not eating meat, even though we as humans been doing it for thousands of years, and it's in our genes to kill something to stay alive. I mean, there is still something in me that says that it's not necessary to do that.
What are your emotions? I mean, you said that you're naming.
Yeah, it can be hard, but you know, you have to be rational about it. It's about animal welfare too. It's part of the meat production.
Yeah.
And I know that they had a good life.
Well, not only because of the low awareness of customer, the legitimate organic meat production suffers, but also by developing more sterile, more innovative practices that has emerged recently. Lab-grown meat sounds like a science fiction. Scientists now create the meat from the stem cells of an animal without actually butchering it. That solves both issues, environmental and moral. But the effects on the human health is still unknown. Yeah, at the end of the day, no lab meat can replace the experience of visiting the nearby farm, engaging with local producers, interacting with animals. As customers, we need to make informed decisions about what we eat and where it comes from.
We are nature and we're part of it, and everything we do, everything we eat, everything we buy is kind of affecting nature. We should think about that.
Okay, the impressions. I have realized this trend with the food production, and it's sad to see where it's going. It's like this old tractor Rebecca was trying to renovate, you know. As you have heard, like lots of farms are disappearing. When it comes to the comparison of organic beef and non-organic bread, I know it's hard to compare those two, but at the end of the day, the reality with the meat production is not as bad as we imagined. We have to just find organic farms nearby and boost their practices with our purchase. So we have to choose quality over quantity.
Han lager film. Spillefilm om kuer.
Ja.